All right, so we're going to do a lesson about analyzing and sketching graphs. You will not need graph paper for this lesson. Mainly, it's about understanding what you're seeing when you look at a graph. If you want some examples beside what I'm going to do on the board here, you're going to want to look at page 302 to page 304. Those are going to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, okay? So basically what's going to happen in today's homework is you're going to look at a graph and you're going to understand what it is that you're seeing. I'm going to take two examples here that are in the textbook, but I'm going to do them up here as well. The first one they're both actually temperature and time graphs in two different cities. So you're going to have your time, you're going to have your temperature. And again, these are sketches. You don't need graph paper. We're really just looking at what's happening. Okay? So in this city, what we see is the temperature kind of going up like this and then down like this. Okay? So what this would tell us is as time passes, the temperature gets what? It gets warmer until it gets about as warm as it does during the middle of the day, right? And then it eventually gets cooler as the day goes on, right? So that's a sample of one graph, okay? So again, this is time passing going this way, and this is the temperature this way. So the lower the temperature is, the lower the graph is going to go. And again, you have this one in your book. You can take a look at it. Here's another graph. Same idea, okay? Same thing. This x-axis is going to represent time, and this axis right here is going to represent temperature, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with our temperature, and you can see that at the beginning of when they started measuring, the temperature is decreasing. It's getting colder and colder as time passes, and then it stays at that temperature and then eventually starts to warm up, right? Okay? That's basically what we're looking at as far as that goes, okay? So you have the temperature decreasing, then staying the same for a while, and then gradually increasing. Those are the two different temperature things that you see happening there, and that is the graph as far as that goes, okay? All right? One of the things you're also going to need to be able to do is you're going to need to be able to sketch graphs. Part of it is looking at the graph and describing what's happening. We start recording. As time passes, temperature gets warmer, 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 then it stays about the same, then gradually starts to go down as the day passes. Here's one. I'm trying to think of a situation where, I guess a cold front's blowing through, so time starts, and the temperature gets colder and colder and colder as time passes, then it stays the same for a while, then it starts to warm up. So you need to be able to draw, or you need to be able to read graphs like that, but you also need to be able to sketch graphs like this, okay? So for example, this one comes from page 303. Page 303, if you look at it, this time they're going to describe a situation. They're going to describe a situation, and then you have to draw the graph that represents what's being described, right? So again, we set up our x and y axis right here, our x-axis and our y-axis, okay? And this is going to describe a subway train that is traveling at a certain speed and kind of describes what happens with it, okay? So again, we're going to have our time on the bottom and on our x-axis, and our y is going to represent the speed of the train, okay? So here's what's described. It says a stopped subway train gains speed at a constant rate until it reaches its maximum speed. Okay? So it stops. So that means we're going to start here. It's not moving at all, right? So 0 time has passed. The speed is 0. Then it starts speeding up at a constant rate. Now the key to constant means that it's going to create a straight line. It's not going to be crooked. It's a constant speed that it's increasing, right? Until it finally reaches a speed where it stays the same speed. This does not mean it stops, right? It's still moving, but it's moving at the same speed. The speed has not changed, right? So we see that as far as that goes, okay? It travels at this speed for a while and then slows down at a constant rate until it stops at the next station. So it's traveling along at the same speed, and then it starts to slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, until it stops at the next station. And so you've drawn that graph that illustrates what's happening, okay? So each part of it, This part represents the train starting from 0. Time is passing, right? And then it doesn't stop, okay? It doesn't stop, but it now is traveling at it's not going any faster. It's traveling at the same speed the whole time. And then eventually it starts to slow down until it stops. Keep in mind that stop means that the speed is 0 when it's down there, right? If the train was to stop instead of just continue traveling at the same speed, and let's say it stopped really suddenly, you would see a graph that looked like that. Boom, straight down, right? Stops very suddenly. That would indicate a sudden stop, okay? So I hope that makes sense, all right? So that's basically what you're going to be doing in today's lesson. Your assignment is going to start on page 305 with number 10. And number 10 through 15, basically what you're going to be doing is describing what's happening in the picture. What do you see happening, okay? That's what you're going to do there. And then for 17 through 22, you are going to, or actually 18 through 21, that's where you're going to be graphing your own, making your own graphs based on what you see there. But again, they just need to be a sketch like this. You don't need graph paper. You don't need a ruler. You're just sketching out what is happening at that time. Okay? All right, so that's basically it. That's my lesson for today. When we meet for our Google Hangout, you can ask me questions about what you heard me talk about, if you didn't understand something I said, or if you start trying the work and you have some trouble with that. I would also say, too, that, what else was I going to say? I can't remember. Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah. You can ask your questions then. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to recommend that you go ahead and do the practice this morning so that when you come to the Hangout, you already come with your questions, okay? Instead of waiting until the Hangout to start trying to have those questions. Does that make sense? I hope so. Thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day off.